Hello Pokemon fans, this is ProPokeNoob back today to bring you another battle. Today will be a standard UU match against a person by the name of Craybat. Now, I'm going to warn you, this is not an ordinary upload. This is going to be an instructional one brought to you by Professor Noob. Professor Noob is in the house, and I feel like I need to analyze. This was a match that I took, and I thought that it was just so intriguing with what he was using on his team that I had to break it down and show everything that he did wrong with it. Now, I'm not saying I'm not saying that his team necessarily is bad. His team actually works if he played it correctly. I don't think he actually knew what type of team he was trying to work with, because I liked what he had. I honestly like what he has. I see this, first of all, and assuming that they're all the normal sets, I go, oh my god, this is threatening as hell, because, like, look, he just has so many threats. He's got Arcanine, he's got Crobat, who can both basically outspeed a lot of my team. He's got Swampert, which is extremely bulky, and if it's offensive, carrying the Stealth Rock, since it's going to be a pain. Ampon's got the priority for him. Blastoise is a nice spinner and stuff like that. He's got Slowbro just to be the nice wall and a half. Like, he's got a really strong team. A little weak to Electric, but that's why he's got the Swampert, I guess. But I mean, his team looks really strong. Now, I'm going to reveal to you that his Arcanine and his Crobat are actually walls. His Blastoise is actually a little bit offensive, and everything else I think is standard. Just standard Swampert, standard Slowbro, standard Ambipom. So, he is running a couple of weird things, but if he had played it correctly, he actually could have taken this match, and that is just from a post-analysis. So what I'm going to do today, and if you are still willing to watch this and are still watching this, and you feel like having another lesson, just one more lesson before your school day is completely finished, then I hope you'll enjoy this and stay with me, because I am going to analyze it, because I consider my team that I built here, this UU team, I've been using it a lot and I love it. Like, I think it's a really powerful team. It's been my staple UU team right now. I'm just sticking with the combination of Registeel and Cresselia is powerful as heck. But anyways, in the ways of leads, I really didn't know what he was going to lead off with, so I just wanted to lead off with Cresselia, biggest wall I can possibly think of, and just take everything. He leads off with Arcanine, so I feel safe, and this is where he gets me. This is a very good play on his part. He goes for Toxic. I discovered that, one, this is a wall, and two, that my Cresselia is now crippled. So I go for the T-Wave thinking that hey, maybe I can catch one of his sweepers off other than Swampert, but I mean, now a wall Arcanine is paralyzed, so that's good for him. Now, I'm going to go into my champ because I know that if he wants to go for Toxic, that'd be nice. I don't have to worry about burns. But he goes for Roar, very nice. Gets me into Chandelure. Can't do a thing if he's running. No, he wasn't running. He was running Intimidate. So, he gets paralyzed, unfortunately. Now, here is the first mistake. I'm going to pause this, okay? Now, he knows, I don't know at this point, but he knows that his Crobat is a physically defensive wall. I can tell. Just from how well it takes the hits, you'll see in a lot of turns from now. But his Crobat, even if it wasn't defensive, it can take a 4 times resisted fighting move, and he knows the fighting move is coming. I'm not going to go for Earthquake, and if I did, he's immune to it, right? He has Swampert, he has Slowbro, he has Crobat. He has 3 things he can switch in, assuming that I'm going for the safe fighting move. Even though this thing is potentially physically defensive, he doesn't have an Intimidate on me, he doesn't have a Burn on me, he has Toxic as well, and he's paralyzed. If I go for Dynamic Punch, he's going to be in a Parafusion state, and he's not going to be in the greatest, states at all. So, kind of a misplay on his part. He needs Arcanine to take on the rest of my team, and he hits himself with Confusion just to add salt to the wound. So, he essentially loses his Arcanine here for free, which is his first mistake, because, Arcanine is good for stopping my Chandelure from sweeping with a fire move. Also stops my Heracross from feeling safe. But now he switches into Crobat. I go into Registeel. He goes for the sub, and I'm like, oh my god, this guy is going to kill me. But he's got leftovers, so I'm like, okay, it can't be that threatening. I go for Seismitoss to break his sub, and he actually goes for Whirlwind. Now, this makes me think, okay, this is another wall. This is kind of interesting, kind of weird at the same time, but I mean, if it's going to do that, then hey, I'm going to be in problems. So, I'm really wondering how I'm going to take this thing down, so I'm just going to go for Psychic with Cresselia, and I know I'm going to take Toxic damage, but here's mistake number 2. He goes for a second sub. Now, the next move that I'm obviously going to make is keep going for Psychic. Okay, it's not that I'm trying to T-Wave, I'm not trying to Ice Beam, I'm going for Psychic. If I'm a standard Cresselia, which I'm not, I have Lunar Dance, but if I was a standard Cresselia with Psychic and Ice Beam, okay, there's Slowbro to switch into. There's Swampert switches. There's even Blastoise to switch into. And by the way, I'm giving this guy credit as if he is a smart battle. If the average person was a little bit smarter and a little bit more proficient with their plays, I'm just trying to show you, you know, what a good play would be and how to use this team with greater knowledge on how to actually use the team. Did that make sense? No? Who cares? So, he's wasting his HP here, especially knowing that I have a Heracross, I'm a champ. That's it. Heracross and Machamp that he needs to handle. So if this thing is really his only answer now that he's lost Arcanine, he needs to keep this thing at a healthy HP. And Roosting is not going to help him anytime soon because Psychic is just going to eliminate him. And I'm just going to keep going for Psychic to break the sub. That's my bait. But now he switches into Slowbro. If he'd switched a turn earlier, he still would have gotten pretty much the same poison damage off, maybe a little bit less. But it's not like he can take out Cresselia anytime soon anyways. So here's a good move. He switches into Slowbro. I knew it was pretty much coming, but I'm going to switch out anyways. I have Lunar Dance. He doesn't know that. I can just get rid of this thing whenever I want. But now I'm going to switch into Registeel to take this thing on. He goes for the Scald. Doesn't get the burn, thank goodness, because that would have been a pain. But now I'm thinking, okay, do I get Rocks up? And I do. So his Crobat is essentially screwed in the butt now. Like, it can't do a thing. It's going to come in, it's going to be at 25% health. It can't resist a hit. Or for so I think, whatever. But just assuming, you know, okay, what's it going to do now? Switches to the Swampert on my T-Wave. Kind of unfortunate. That was the one Pokemon I was hoping that wouldn't come in. But, hey, what are you going to do? It's going to happen. Now, the best bet to take on a Swampert is Togekiss if he's got the Rocks, which I assumed he had. I'm just going to send this in before Rocks. But I know he can't really touch me unless he's got Ice Punch. So, knowing that, he's going to confirm it. But I try to lock him in. I don't think he predicted the Encore because Encore is not common. It was a 4th gen set, not a 5th gen. And unless this guy watches me, which I don't think he does, but unless this guy watches me, you know, Encore is not necessarily expected, but it might be choiced. It might be choiced with Stealth Rocks. Who knows? That's a possibility. Now, I thought this guy might have Ice Beam, and it turns out he does, so I was kind of, you know, on the edge there. I'm thinking, what has he got up his sleeve? And I find up his sleeve he's got a nice little Icy Beam that could destroy me. So I'm going to go for S-Toss. Knowing that Swampert's most likely going to come in on the T-Wave, I'm just going to switch out, go into Togekiss, even though the Rocks are up, I don't care, I can take a hit. He goes for Superpower, and I'm looking at this going, okay, if he's got Superpower, maybe he does have a Choice Band, or maybe he has a Choice Scarf, or something like that. He has something, possibly Choice, because he switches out now. I'm like, okay, well, let me go for Body Slam. I get the Paralysis on the Ampom, which is nice, and I know I can most likely take a Fake Out, but he pulls out the normal gem. I'm like, ooh, that was close. That would have been super, super close, but I live it. Now, I guess he forgets about Encore because I go for that, and even though it only gives me an extra turn, what you think it is giving me an extra turn, actually gives me an extra turn of leftover, so I can go for Roost now, but I will be at a little bit more HP than I was before because he wasted a turn trying to do something else to me. But it's paralyzed, so I really don't care at this point. But he sends in Blastoise, and he switches back into Ambipom. Now, this was weird because Blastoise can take Air Slashes. But he switches into Ambipom, I guess maybe thinking that he wants to go for another Fake Out, which is extremely risky, first of all, because he has a Paralysis on him. But furthermore, he knows I'm going to be attacking, or going for Body Slam or something. So, I mean, there's nothing to lock in with Encore. I'm not going to Roost again, unless he thought I was going to Roost for an Ice Beam. But, I mean, there's no point in foddering off Ambipom like this. So, honestly, I don't know what he was doing. This would have been really useful for him to keep. Even if he didn't get paralyzed, the threat of Fake Out is still a 50-50 chance, and it still could have affected the game later on. But, I mean, at this point, he's losing his grip. I'm going to go for an Air Slash, get a crit. Kind of matters. He does get the Ice Beam off, as you can see. It actually does more than half, and I'm especially defensive Togekiss. So this guy is offensive. Maybe Choice Specs. I don't know. But he does go into the Slowbro. I'm just going to go for the Roost. Even if he has Ice Beam, I know it's not going to do much. He misses the Toxic. Again, kind of matters, kind of doesn't, because I could just play around easily. But I know he's going to go for Toxic again, so I switch into Heracross to get the Guts boost. Because Guts, Heracross is amazing. So he's going to switch out now. He's going to go Crobat. Look how well Crobat takes this. Boom. Look at, he took 27% from a Guts boosted max attack Heracross. That's incredible. I know it's times 4 resisted, but it's a Heracross and it's a Crobat. Crobat's not necessarily the bulkiest thing in the world. It has some bulk, but it's not the bulkiest thing. If he had kept this thing at a really good amount of HP, he would have been in a lot better situation at this point. He would have been at maybe 50% as opposed to 23%, not having to worry about rocks or anything like that. And he's lost his spinner. So if I get rocks up and this guy's stuck in here doing nothing, he's basically done. So you know, it comes in, it's got 30% HP. I'm not going to stay in. Oh, no, I am going to stay in. Maybe he thought I was going to switch out fearing a Brave Bird. But I know if he's a set that's just walling, I'm not going to be worried. And he tries to go for a substitute. So, really at this point, he's lost his grip over the battle. And then he goes into Swampert. Now, this is kind of questionable. But, I mean, at this point, he really has nothing better to do. Like, he's lost all his potential for stopping me. Right? So now I can go into Machamp. Because Machamp is actually the most expendable. He goes for Scald. Luckily, he doesn't get the burn because I do have, obviously, no guard. I go for Thunder Punch, and he goes for Toxic. Now, as silly as this might sound, he probably should have still... Actually, no, it's not silly. He should have risked the Scald Burn. Because Burn, he knows that I use Dynamic Punch. No Guts Machamp in hell will ever use Dynamic Punch because that's just way too risky. And if you see it, hey, lucky you. Or you better be lucky if you're ever going to hit a 50% chance Dynamic Punch, if you can even hit a Focus Blast. If you can't hit Focus Blast, don't even try for Dynamic Punches. Although sometimes it feels like they hit a little bit better. But regardless, the point is... yeah, I forgot my point. No, I'm kidding. The Scald Burn would have been more beneficial to him, and now that he Toxic me, there's no chance of me losing power. I can keep smacking this guy until I die. So, I mean, I'm going to go for another Thunder Punch. I'm not even going for hacks with the confusion or anything, but I am going to be withered down here, and he makes the good play. He knows I can't take him out with Thunder Punch. He goes for the slack off, you know, just a nice standard play, and I'm going to take myself out with the Toxic. Not too big of a deal, but now, let's take a look at it this way. Now, I have 5 Pokemon on the edge here. I've got Registeel here, who's at 89%. I've got Cresselia, who's Toxic at 57%. I've got Chandelure, who's perfectly healthy. I've got Embrace the Hacks, and I've got Heracross at 27% with a Toxic. Now, my best bet here is just to go into Chandelure and sweep. What does he have to stop me? Nothing. What he did have to stop me was both a Blastoise and an Arcanine. And this is the problem. He lost Arcanine. If he had kept Arcanine, it could have potentially taken the hit. I mean, depending on who was up, I mean, Fire wouldn't be the best thing against this team anyways. But because he's lost that pressure, he goes for Roost now. But because he lost all that pressure, I'm Choice Specs, remember. So he's not going to take that. But honestly, it feels like this team, first of all, is a little weird. Obviously, it's not necessarily the highest level tier you'll ever, not the highest level team you'll ever see. But if he had played it correctly, he actually could have done a little bit better. Maybe not won. I mean, he might not still. I don't want to say this guy beat me. He would beat me because, you know, I still read him like an open book. But if he had played his Crobat a little bit smarter, if he had kept his Arcanine around a little bit longer, because again, we're missing some of the moves and some of the items that he potentially had. If he had played it a little bit better, I think he actually could have survived a little bit longer and actually done a little bit more work. But again, just simple plays and simple miscalculations, focusing on the wrong things to be foddered, and focusing on, you know, certain objectives that he's trying to get out of his team that's just not working. And with a team built like mine where it can pretty much respond, I mean, it's rare, I mean, not rare, but you will run into teams that can obviously respond to your teams just way too well. I get that way too much because I can't build teams, but if you run into a team where it just completely responds too perfectly to everything you have to know how to play around, and that's where predictions come in. That's where, you know, knowing how to double switch and knowing how to use and fodder the proper Pokemon, that's where that all comes in. But I digress. The class is over. Everyone relax. Comment, rate, and subscribe, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, this battle against Craybat. You could easily just argue that this guy had a terrible team and he should just build a better team and learn how to play Pokemon, but I decided to take a little bit more of an analytical approach and give you guys something a little bit more professionally analyzed, and because I like to think that every team has potential as long as you're using viable moves and, you know, viable Pokemon. I think every team has the ability to win, and it's all about, it's half plays, half luck. That's my opinion. Okay, sorry. Let me add in 3 elements there. You got team building itself, then you've got the plays, and then you've got luck. Okay, luck you can't control, team building you can, plays you definitely can. So, I mean, I think he had a chance. I honestly feel that that team had a chance. Would I play it myself? Not really, because, you know, Choice Specs, Blastoise is pushing it a little bit, but regardless. I just wanted to take that approach today. Felt like, just something different. Something that not anyone else would really want to do because they think they're wasting time. And if I am wasting time, tell me. But anyways, I'm wasting time just by blabbering, and I think I'm still a little delusional. But nonetheless, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Until then, peace.